Here. Okay, so we're recording. So, hey everybody, welcome. So we're going to do some talking about blogging tonight. I'm really excited for this call because a lot of people have been asking how to get started and some of the general questions. And that's what we're going to talk about with Carla tonight. So let me just tell you a little bit more about how Carla and I got to know each other a bit. Around this time last year, Carla did a workshop and a blog. She helped me get my blog started, and she did a group on Facebook to help us. Not only, she helped with the actual technical stuff of the blog, but then she also taught a group of us what it meant to blog, because to me, it's like learning a second language that I really had no idea about before. And it's not that you can't learn it, it's just that you definitely need to take some time to do that. And Carla made it so much easier, so much more accessible, and really provided the language and the tools in a way that we could understand them. And so I am forever grateful to her for doing that for me. And so I really wanted to have her share with you guys some of the very basics of blogging. I don't know how many of you actually already have blogs. I know the people I've talked to, most are just getting started, like trying to figure out how to even get started. So that's exactly what Carla is going to talk about tonight with us. So I'm really excited. And Carla is very familiar with Beachbody herself, and she is a coach herself as well. She's also a mom to two beautiful babies. And I'm going to let you take it from here, Carla. So thank you so much for being on the call with us tonight.
Well, thank you, Kathleen. It's awesome to be here with you. Yeah, like we met last year. I had been in the group. Melanie's actually my coach, my personal coach. And I kept seeing come through the group, so many people were asking about blogging, how to get started. They were confused, and it's just an area that I'm really comfortable with. And so I finally decided, you know what, I'm going to put together a group. And that's when I went ahead and launched it and created a separate Facebook group. And I called it 30 Days to a New Online Me, or a New Online You. And I was surprised at the turnout. I thought maybe we'd have a handful of people that were interested. And I think I did it twice last year, and I think I had over 300 people between the groups. And so it became a little overwhelming at first trying to answer everybody's questions, but it was a great learning experience on how, and it really made me see how nervous people are to try to even enter the blogging world. And it seems something so common now, but people get so caught up in so many things of blogging that kind of holds them back, which is truly where you can find so many clientele by reaching out. Do you want me to just go ahead and start going through content?
Yeah, well, tell everybody too. Didn't you find Melanie through her blog? Like, you kind of studied that, right?
Yeah, and I think that's an important thing is I decided I wanted to go ahead and become a coach. I had been stalking, if you want to call it, different coaches online, just because that's where my comfort zone is. I build websites, I build domains out, and I use them in our own portfolio. And so everything online is usually how I go about finding things. And I had been searching for quite a few months. I had my second C-section in June of 2014. And my doctor gave me the okay to start doing Insanity 7 weeks after I had my little girl. And so I had already started my transformation. I was about 2-3 months into it by this point, but I had been searching it out because I was on bed rest for 9 months with a very complicated pregnancy. And so I was pre-planning my whole transformation while I was pregnant of how it was going to be and how it's going to look. So I started looking. I had done P90X way back in the day. And I thought, well, I'd like to try something new. I'd heard Insanity was fabulous. So I started going online and started searching. And every time, I'm a keyword girl myself. I love keyword research because it's really where the heart and the fruit of everything lies on the internet. Everything is centered around keywords. So I started searching and searching, thinking I could find different areas. And lo and behold, you want to take one guess whose blog kept coming up over and over and over again. And it was Melanie's. And so I thought, well, this lady seems to know what she's doing. I have no clue who this Melanie chick is. She wasn't the top coach at the time yet. She was still up and coming, but she was doing well, but she was ranking for a lot of keywords that I was searching. So I thought, if I'm going to pursue this as a coach, I want to be under someone who knows what they're doing in the online world, since that's my comfort area. So I went ahead and contacted Melanie. Actually, I didn't want to fill out her Facebook or her forms that she had all over her site. I thought that's too much detail I didn't want to go into. I just wanted to say, where can I sign as a coach with you to work with you? So I contacted her actually through her Facebook page. I sent her a private message and said, I want to sign. Let's move forward. She had never had any contact with me previously. So I think that's pretty important. But it was surprising when I ran the group last year, the 30-day groups, how many individuals in that group were actually under Melanie and how many of them actually found Melanie the exact same way as I did. With no knowledge of her before, they went searching through Google and different forms, search engines, and they kept coming up with her name. So that really goes to show how important blogging truly is.
Yeah, it's just so amazing, right? I still am boggled by that. I think it's so awesome that that's how you found her and that's how you came to Beachbody and all that. So thanks for sharing that story with us.
You're welcome. Well, I was actually surprised when I did contact her, and I thought she might, I might have been one of the first ones who had contacted her that way. And she later shared with me that was actually a common form of contact for a lot of new coaches for her. Was people just happen to find her on the internet and they start following her, watching her, and they see her consistently doing, the workouts and following the meal plans and even the coaching side of it, that she says quite a few people contact her. I think she said that her first contact after she started her blog was 6 months into her blog. So, I think that's pretty amazing.
It is really amazing. Cool. All right, so break it down for us.
Okay.
How do you get started? What do you do?
Get into the nitty gritty. Basically, I just wanted to go over the basics of blogging because so many people get caught up in the technical side and then they start worrying about search engine optimization. They start hearing all these terms that they get a little afraid of it and then they never start. They never begin this process that could lead them to so many wonderful things. So the basic, you need a domain name. That's usually where I usually start people out. I says you need some kind of form of .com. So when you're choosing a domain name, I've had so many people go through giving me these long domain names of my fabulous group is going to take us to the top, whatever .com. And it really is simple. When you're going to choose a domain name for yourself, I suggest sticking with .com. I always suggest no hyphenated domains. So not, if it was carlarumsey.com, I wouldn't go carla-rumsey.com or fitness-blog.com. I always stick with straight domain names in the .com form, just because that's what people are so familiar with. And so if you give them extras that they have to remember, chances are they may not find you. So sticking with it, keeping it simple. Now when people are going to start searching for you and your name starts becoming more and more known, they're going to start Googling your name and you want them to be able to find you. So the best way I suggest is starting with your own name. So in my case, it would be carlarumsey.com or whatever your name is. Now, sometimes if you may hit a roadblock where your name has already been taken. It's not necessarily owned by someone else with the exact same name as you. Investors buy names every day and they turn around, they resell the domains themselves. So if those are taken, you can do something like your name fitness.com or yournamecoaching.com. So it'd be like carlarumseycoaching.com or coachcarlarumsey.com. I see a lot of fitness, but I like the coach because in Beachbody, we call it coach. So when people are Googling your name, let's say they remember Carla Rumsey, they're going to put Carla Rumsey Beachbody Coach. Well, I'll come up in the search engines a little bit easier if I have coach in my domain as opposed to fitness. That one will take a little longer for it to rise to the top. So domain is the very, very basic place to begin. Now you already had a team. You kind of went a different route and you went with Awakening Fitness.
Yeah, I did that for a couple of reasons. One was because I already had I wasn't just starting from scratch, but the other was because in my husband's business, I didn't want it to be my name. And
yeah, we talked about that. And sometimes people want to keep certain parts of their life private online. So if you choose to, just keep it short and simple. I love that you kept it, 2 words and that was it. When you start adding 3 and 4 and 5 words into it, it's harder for people to remember. The shorter, the better when you're choosing one. The next thing, do you want me to just dive into platforms next?
Well, does anybody have questions about naming?
That would be great.
Pause for a second. Everybody's muted, but if you have a question, unmute and.
So sorry, I came in late and you might have answered this. Is it okay to have .net instead of .com on things if your name is taken?
Yeah, if your name is taken, I highly recommend choosing a separate form. The .net, I mean, it's a good thing to have, but so many people are going to search for .com. I would highly recommend going with the .com. So if your name is taken, maybe add, like I was saying, you know, your name and coaching.com or something, some variation of it, but I highly recommend sticking with .com.
Okay.
I don't even know where to go to get a .com name.
That's a great question. That is a great question. I can tell you, I mean, everybody, that's the basics, because if you've never done before, where you go? The popular one is probably GoDaddy. That's where most of my domain names are registered, is through GoDaddy. So you go literally godaddy.com. And as soon as you get to their homepage, right in the center, you can enter and it'll be like a domain extension. You can start searching that way for it. I highly recommend, if you're going to start searching, that you go in with the intent to purchase that night, because there's lists that are collected through these companies and they start coming up as suggestions when people are searching for other things. So your name could come up as a suggestion to someone else if you haven't registered it. So always go in with the intent that you're going to go ahead and purchase before you start searching. There's also name.com is another one that's pretty popular. Those are probably the two most common. I would be cautious of anybody if you decide to go with a self-hosted blog, which we're going to get into a little bit later tonight. But if your hosting offers it with it, unless it's through someone like GoDaddy or through name.com or, you know, someone more reputable, if it's just a generic hosting, sometimes they'll offer a free domain for the life of your hosting. And then let's say you decide to change hosting plans, sometimes your domain won't go with you and they take ownership of that. So I'm still very cautious, because that's, you know, happened to me in 2002, my first time. I thought my name came with me when I changed platforms and when I changed providers, and it didn't. I ended up losing my domain name because of it. So yeah, basically GoDaddy is probably the top one to go for, but always search for coupons online. You can search for GoDaddy coupons. You can search for name.com coupons and see if you can get a discount. You're going to spend around $15 for a domain, but sometimes you can find coupons that can get it for as cheap as $2. Now, when you go in, you have to know that the domain is something you pay for every single year. So every year, you know, 1 year from the day you purchased it, you're going to have to pay that renewal fee again, over and over, as long as you have that domain name.
And Carla, real quick, you can buy more than one, right? So I actually have Awakening Fitness, and I bought my name. I don't use it, but I didn't want somebody else to buy it or to change my mind later or whatever like that. So you can buy.
Right, definitely. You can buy. I'm a little over, I guess, protective of domain variations when it comes to something. If I'm trying to brand something, so I sometimes will order or I'll reserve like 10 different domains related to that same product. So yes, by all means, you can buy more than one. So if you want to do your team name that you have come up with, and then you want to do your name, you can actually tie them together. It's a little bit more on the technical side. I don't think that's necessarily what we wanted to get into tonight, but you can tie them together. You can forward one domain to the other, so they can be not two separate websites when you create it. But yes, definitely, you could buy as many domains as you want. I have several hundred in my account, so you can go crazy too.
And if you're not quite sure, you can just like Google your name, or if you wanted to try something else, right? And see if somebody else already has that before you go to GoDaddy. Would you suggest doing that or no?
Yeah, you can. And sometimes they'll come up in the search engine. So you would just Google yourname.com all together and see if it's something comes up. You can even try going to type in the URL address just directly into a web browser. And sometimes if it doesn't resolve, most likely it's not taken. So if it just kind of hangs and it doesn't go anywhere, if there gives you an error message, or obviously if it takes you to something that comes up, obviously it's taken. But those are definitely good ways to search before you go ahead and go in and commit to it.
Cool.
Do we have any other questions before we move on?
think we're good.
Okay. The next one that a lot of people get stuck on is which platform to choose. And sometimes when you think of platforms, we're not talking about shoes. We're talking about how you're going to build your site, what you're going to build it with. The two most popular and the only two I recommend is WordPress and Blogger. They also become huge in the online world, and they're the easiest way to get started. Now, there's two separate versions of WordPress when you're starting if you decide that's a route you want to go. WordPress has a .com version, so it would be carlarumsey.wordpress.com would be my actual domain, and they have variations that you can make it look like carlarumsey.com by doing something called masking, where it hides it, but it's actually everything is held on. They have the hosting. They don't charge you a monthly hosting fee. You can start blogging right away, which is a great way to get started. The only downfall is that I always suggest to people when you're going on a free platform, they basically own your content per se. So they have rights, they have everything usage to your content until you remove it at that point, and they have control over your domain per se. The other one is, of course, Blogger, Blogspot, which a lot of people have gone ahead, and that's a great way to get started. If cost is a reason, or even just trying to see if it's something you want to do, I highly recommend doing a free platform to get started if that's the case. Because if you don't start, I mean, you're still going to be in the same place. Melanie has built a fabulous business off of blogspot.com. Her domain has always been Melanie, I think it's Melanie Mitra, I don't even know, .blogspot.com, and she's built a fabulous business and who has no desire to even change. So getting started is the biggest key, and just deciding which one you want to go with. Some of them are pretty simple. WordPress is a little more technical, I would say, than Blogspot. When I've gone into some of the other platforms for a couple other coaches that was asking for help in the previous groups, Blogspot seemed very more user-friendly. But once you get WordPress down, I think it's as simple as MS Word in my opinion. But it does have a little bit of a learning curve at the beginning when you're getting started. Now, the second part of WordPress is called self-hosted, and it's wordpress.org, and that's where you can add a bunch of cool features and different things to your blogs that really makes it stand out and pop. On a self-hosted site, you're going to have to purchase hosting for it, and you'll have WordPress, and it will get installed into your hosting account, which sounds kind of confusing and very, very technical. But it's basically you own your own website, you own your own content, you have complete control of everything. The technical side sounds way more technical than it really is. Once you get it down, it's not a big deal to get over. But I know the first time I ever dealt with it, I was terrified. I remember loading in the theme and getting so excited and going to my page and refreshing, and nothing looked like the theme did. And I thought it was broken. So, but you do get past those little technical difficulties. So I think it's mostly just getting started. If WordPress.com or Blogspot.com or however is the way that you want to start off with, just to get your feet in the water, then definitely go with either of them. There's some other ones out there. Oh my goodness, I'm trying to think of some of them. Maybe you can think of them off the top of your head. Oh goodness.
I think there's a couple of people on here that have them hosted other ways, right? Do you guys have other ones? Terry
Yeah,
has some.
I think people have used Wix. I used Weebly before I went to WordPress, and then there's I forget what the other one is.
Okay, yeah, definitely. I mean, even if those are the ways that you're getting started, that's great. I know. I think it's Wix. Some of the add-ons for some of it actually ends up becoming pretty expensive in the end. So I always suggest. I still, I really do prefer WordPress and Blogspot, but by all means, if you have one already started, continue what you're doing and keep moving forward.
I will say I just had mine in Wix, and it was great because it was very user-friendly, but I did notice all of the fees adding up. Anytime you wanted to do something extra with like a newsletter or having like a extra like email list stuff, all those things kept costing. And then it was also $150 a year annually that like I didn't expect. So
that's good to know. See, those are things, sometimes they'll start off and it appears that it's going to be less expensive and it'll be free, but in the end, you're still getting charged for hosting.
Right.
On Wix, they still own your content, as opposed to the other two, the other variations
Mhm.
that you can do. I've built on Weebly before. I mean, I've tried so many different ones. My first website that I built was in 2002, and I went from trying one platform, and then I went to Yahoo Store and tried them, and then I did some of the boxed build your own websites that you find out, like Office Depot or Office Max, and built on there, and kind of led my way to WordPress eventually, finding, and that's my happy place. Just because some of the others, it just starts adding in all these fees you don't expect in the end. But like I said, getting started is the key. If that's how you start, then that's wonderful. If you have a current one that's on WordPress.com or Blogger.com, those files that you've already created and you've been blogging on can be extracted. I haven't done a Wix one, so I'd have to check into it, but a lot of them you can extract all of your posts and everything you've done and put them into a new site if you've decided to change platforms. So it's pretty easy, pretty simple to do. I did that for quite a few coaches last year.
Cool.
Do we have any other questions? I know platforms can really start getting to people when they're trying to decide which one is best for them.
I think we're good, but I like your overall message, which is just start. Don't get caught up in the semantics of the name or the which one, but just pick one and move forward. I like that a lot.
Well, good. The next one that I think a lot of people start hitting roadblocks, once you finally choose how you're going to build your site, how you're going to move forward with your blog, they get caught up in the design. And I've seen too many people, me myself included, in the earlier years of developing websites and building domains out, I always got held up on the design, and I always reread the content over and over again, and pushing publish was always a frightening thing for me to do, or update, or however you're going to do it. Sometimes I think we get in our own way. I've seen coaches, even from last year, that have contacted me this year now, and they're still in the same place with being frustrated with their header. So they've never launched their blog because they can't get their header to look perfect. And I think it's such a shame, because I've been on a lot of blogs that have a wonderful following and they don't look beautiful, but that doesn't matter. And the search engines don't care if your site is beautiful. They will index you based off of content. Content is the key. So when you're going and you're looking at your design, I mean, try to do your best. If you're doing it yourself, or if you hire out, that's great too. But don't get caught up in all the little pretty aspects of it. Like I said, just start blogging, because content is what's going to move you up. Content is going to be how you are found. And most of the time when people are in your site, they've come to you through a search engine from Google or from Yahoo or wherever they're coming from. They really don't pay much attention to the outer edges, all the, the beauty that we add in the sidebars and everything that makes it. I think we become a little bit more obsessed than the actual reader is. They go and they just read. And if they see more areas that they could go to find more information, they're going to continue through your site, to navigate through your site. So don't be as focused on web design, because that's really not as important as what you're writing every single day or once a week or however you decide to blog.
Isn't that the truth about Melanie's too? I mean, that always stood out to me, that her blog, it really, I mean, I know it's been updated, but it was not pretty at all to me. It looked like kind of jumbled, and like there were definitely misspelling, and I'm not trying to criticize her,
Right.
So that she just moved forward.
That's what, and that's one thing I had on here. Didn't think Melanie's site was beautiful. And I came from the world of web development. I was based around making sites as pretty as you can. And I personally didn't think it was beautiful. Some of it was a little hard to navigate. I would stumble. I still stumble a little bit. I love Melanie, but I still do stumble through her blog a little bit, but she has so much information there, and that's what drew me in. When I've heard from other coaches who signed with Melanie off of her blog, it wasn't off of the design, because I received the same feedback in the last group. They said she had so much information. They didn't totally love the design, but the information was there. What they were searching for was there. They could feel her heart was there. And if you look back, even if you go to her blog and you look back at her early posts, back when she first started, you could see verbiage was a little stumbled. There was misspellings. It was real. I mean, it was her learning the world. And it's like that with most bloggers, whether you're doing it through coaching or you're just blogging about whatever your passion is. I love looking at their early posts to where they become several years later, even a year later, because their writing evolves. They become this whole incredible person. They find ways that they learn to open up. Because I think when we first start, we hold a lot in. Even if we think we're writing freely, we hold a lot back still. And I think it takes a while for us to finally find that comfort zone to be able to push it and say, I'm okay with this. I'm going to be real. I don't care if my hair looks perfect in my post every day. I don't care if my house is messy behind me. The kids are screaming in the background, because that's reality. My words aren't always perfect. Nothing is going to be perfect for you. And if you wait for perfection, it will never happen. So definitely, content. That's what I kept reiterating in our last group. I said content is the key to bringing in your readers. Now, my focus has always been on creating sites based around keywords. So going into a blogging world, I still struggle with on my own, finding the time and just kind of getting into blogging myself. But I built quite a few blogs for other individuals, both in the Beachbody world and through, my little girl was born with Down syndrome in 2014. And so I built some out for other moms that wanted to go and blog about, their experiences in life. And it's really just getting started. And once you start getting those posts, you sit yourself down. You could do it several times a week. That'd be fabulous. Once a day would be great, but I know our schedules don't always look perfect every single day. So if you could sit down, though, at least 3 times a week, force yourself for 30 minutes to write whatever's on your mind. Write. Whether you post it or not, you can leave that to yourself to decide, but just get in the habit of writing and letting yourself just express your day. You'll find that happy place that you'll start feeling more and more comfortable to share it with the world, 1. And 2, you'll find that the verbiage, the words, everything will start flowing quite a bit easier, and you won't be as stuck as you feel the first time you sit down to try to write about Shakeology. And don't just focus on the products. Find things, because when you become a coach, there's things that people are going to connect with you on. I always hear people saying there's so many Beachbody coaches. How am I going to make it? How am I going to grow my business? Because there's so many of them. But we are all connected in different ways. We don't get along with everybody in this world. We're not friends with everybody. We don't connect with everybody. We make friendships through people who we just are attracted to through some kind of connection with it, whatever it is in their lives that touches you. So you have to dig deep down inside and find that person and write about those topics. Me, I didn't want to have C-section number 2 with my daughter. I was terrified from my first experience of the emergency C-section. But when they gave me the chance that she could be born with Down syndrome, and they started giving me lists and lists of complications, that was my only choice. So I connect with moms that wanted to have VBACs but ended up with a second C-section, and here you go. You have to transform your body again and try to firm everything back up. Down syndrome is huge in my life, so I connect with mothers who are going through the same experiences. My son is 6. Everything that comes with a world of 6-year-olds, from Transformers to everything that's there, to sports. Just find those topics that you connect with people on, and they'll eventually find you through the beautiful world of the internet. And they will start finding that connection with you, and they'll want to work with you. Just because there's this other coach, or this other coach has succeeded to this level or that level. When I signed with Melanie, she wasn't the top coach. I debated between the 2. I knew she was doing well, but I didn't sign with who I thought was the top in the industry, and I was excited for when she did take that place. But there were several other people that were in different placements in the whole lineup, if you want to look at it like that I did not sign with, not because of where they were placed, but because I didn't connect. So you will find those people through blogging if you open up.
And the other thing I just wanted to quickly go back to was about Melanie's blog not being perfect. I personally have found Now, she's not my personally sponsored coach, so I didn't find her that way. But I did see a lot of her blog because her coach is my personally sponsored coach. Anyway, what I found was that it just made it, like you had touched upon before, it just made her seem so real. It seemed like it was doable. It seemed like, okay, she's not an expert, but she's just sharing her story. And it's very much like becoming a coach when you're not a personal trainer, or you're not at your goal weight or your goal body or whatever, because people can relate to that. And I feel like the same was true for the way she blogged, and her style was kind of like, oh, I could maybe do that. It doesn't seem perfect. It seems real, you know?
Definitely. I think that's a huge thing that people want. I know we hide behind these different profiles we create on social media, and we try to post the best pictures and this and that. But when you really start breaking it down, you start showing your true self, you'll actually draw people in even more. You'll build a level of trust with them. They won't, you don't want to create this picture perfect world, because then they're always going to be wondering and watching and seeing what's really going on behind the scenes. Where if you are, that's what I loved. I loved that she was real. I loved everything was just, she said it the way it was, and it wasn't always perfect. That's what really drew me in. Had it been, I may not have gone with her. So, and then there was another coach that I just decided not to go with, that kind of created that illusion. And I think that was one of the things that turned me off.
Isn't that something? Does anybody have any questions about that, or want to say something about that? I'm writing that down. I really like that you were turned off by the illusion of perfection. I'm writing it down.
Awesome.
All right, cool. It looks like we're still here, ready to hear more.
Okay. I know when you start getting into it, I know you had asked me about pages and posts and categories, and you'll start seeing that once you get into your site to start building it out. Pages are pretty simple. They seem a little confusing. I can't tell you when I built my first site, even in WordPress itself, because in other platforms, it was just pretty much you wrote. Where in Blogger and WordPress and all of them, they start breaking them apart into pages and posts and categories. I created pages that were supposed to be posts, and I had to go through and clean up stuff. Stuff I log into that I had created several years ago. I look at it and think, oh my goodness, what was I thinking? Because I could tell I was confused when I was forming everything and building it out. So I've had to go and delete and recreate. But it's pretty basic. Pages are things that are static. They're going to pretty much be there. You're not really going to change them. I mean, you can update them, but they're like your About Me page, your My Story page, Contact Me page. They're those basic, simple pages that you're going to have. You would probably have like an application to fill out if people are interested in joining a group. Those will all stay on pages because they're always going to be there and remain the same. But when you get to post are your topics that you're going to post daily or weekly. They're what we actually refer to as blogging. Those are things that you're going to post, like a recipe that you're sharing for the day, or you're posting about your workout, your review of the workout. Things that you're going to be constantly posting is going to be your posts. Now, those posts need to be organized in an orderly fashion so people can navigate through your site better, through your blog, and they'll be able to find topics that are, they want to be able to reach it, find it easily, and be able to go into something new. Those are your categories. Your categories are basically files that are created, per se, if you want to say it behind the scenes, for your post to go into. So let's say you've written a bunch about 21 Day Fix. Those are all going to go into a category or a file, per se, labeled 21 Day Fix. So when a person's in your blog, they could see, oh, wait, look, here's all the posts that come up about 21 Day Fix. So if that's a program that they're checking out, they're maybe interested in, they can go through and read through every single post that you have tagged with that. You can tag posts with multiple categories. You can do clean eating recipes. That's another one. Beach body workouts. I mean, the list can go on and on, but it's basically different ways. It helps your reader to be able to navigate your site better. Navigation is very important when you're building a blog. It's up there, I think, with content, because as long as a person can continuously go through and find where to find more and more information as they want to read more and more about you, or more and more of your posts, you're going to need an easy way for them to be able to access it. They don't want to search through it. People get bored really, really easy on a website. So if they can't find it quickly, they're going to be on to the next coach, the next person, the next blog, and they'll have already left yours. So it's very, very important to keep it organized, at least enough where people can find what they're looking for.
Yeah, all those words were confusing, but they're not really that bad.
They're really not. Once you get into it, pages are just, remember, they're static things. They're your contact me page and your about me. Posts are your blogs. The blog, the thing that you're going to talk about every single day, the constant updates. It's basically like what you do on Facebook. You're doing your little post updates of, you know, what you're doing at that point in time. That's basically your post. And your categories are just your files to file all of your posts in. I know it still sounds very technical, but
it's just another one of those things that don't let learning that hold you back either, you know?
That's right.
And
Definitely.
if you mix it up, you can switch it, and it's not that hard to do because I've done it.
My first site that I built in WordPress was in 2011, and like I said, I still log into old sites that kind of run themselves now, and it looks a little bit scattered, but it has traffic going to it. It's doing its job. It may not look the way I want it to when I log into it. I have things a little confused, but it gets traffic. That's what matters.
Right. Just keep moving forward. The theme of tonight.
Now I know there's a lot of more, you know, people really want to dive into how I get ranked, how I get found. That's a whole nother topic I know we had discussed maybe at a later point in time going over, but like I said, content will help it so you can get found. Don't worry about throwing in keywords or anything at the beginning. That's something that could come and you'll know how to place them. Using too many keywords can actually put a bad mark against you in the search engines. They'll think they call it keyword stuffing. So they'll think that you're using that just to try to rank, and they will view you as not having real content. So just write. Just get out there and write. Just find some way you want to do it. Tonight, if you don't have a blog, I suggest you go and create one. Sit down, have fun. Don't worry about the technical. A lot of people, when they're trying to do pictures, I used to use all these different logo creators and picture editing software. PicMonkey is wonderful. I do almost everything now on PicMonkey to this day. So go out there, create a blog, build something in PicMonkey. It's free. They have a $33, I think it's $33 a year. You could upgrade, or you could just use most of the features for free. You can create your banners, your headers, all of it in PicMonkey, which is wonderful. So just put something together. Just put it out there. Don't worry. Don't worry about what friends or family are going to say. Most of the thing that's wonderful about a blog is you're reaching out to people that don't even know you. So don't let other people hold you back.
Absolutely. What about other questions do you guys have about getting started, or any of the other techniques?
Back in the fall, I was trying to get started, and I went to Melanie's blog and saw the person that she'd used to help create. And I went to her, I think she's an Etsy site, and bought a template, but I hadn't done anything with it because I didn't have the right pictures that I wanted to use. So how do you recommend using a template from someone, or is it just as easy to do it yourself?
In blogs, I think that if it was someone that Melanie used, it would be for Blogspot. I'm not as familiar with loading a template, but templates are fabulous. In WordPress, everything is template related. You do a lot of what we call configuration. You have to do a lot of setting things on it, but templates are definitely the way to go. I've built sites from scratch with no templates, and then have went ahead and got into WordPress and whether it's or Blogspot or whatever, and you have to use a template with those. So it's not a bad thing at all. Definitely, if you have a template already, don't wait for those pictures. You are beautiful just on this chat, so don't wait for pictures. Just put it up. I say tonight, you put yourself in a room and you load that template in and you put up the photos you have today, even if you take one with your phone right now, and get started. Don't wait.
I'll do a little screenshot for you.
There you go. But yeah, definitely. I know when I first loaded my very first template I loaded, and I kind of held back from starting WordPress because it just seems so technical and built on other, like I said, other different forms, even from Dreamweaver, which was way back in the day how people used to build their sites from scratch. WordPress seems so technical. And one night after I went to publish a site I had created for our business, and it wouldn't connect with my hosting company. And I came to the conclusion, I called the software company I had purchased it from to build my site, and they were of no assistance. I had purchased the software in August. It was November. I had a year of support, and they said that's a year from the date that they released the support, not from when I purchased it. And I was in a situation where I had to create my whole site all over again. I could either fight with this company or create it. And I went to YouTube. YouTube became my friend. I YouTubed everything. So I was self-taught in WordPress myself. Self-taught and YouTube. I Googled and Googled and Googled and searched for it. And I remember the first time I decided to go ahead, and I was so proud of myself when I figured out how to connect WordPress with my hosting company, my domain, and I had the 3 attached. And I thought, wow, I just, gone over the biggest mountain in the world. And I went in and I loaded my template and I refreshed it. And it wasn't, nothing was there. And I remember being heartbroken thinking I broke it, or it didn't come right, or this WordPress thing is a piece of crap. So I just kind of was very, very frustrated. And then I learned you have to set things to trigger it. You have to, what they call, configure it. You have to set all the settings in it. But now templates are beautiful. I have built on so many different templates through WordPress myself. And over the last year, I have grown to love one. And I build almost everything I do now on this one template. And I don't know if I'll look back unless I need something very, very specific. I'm stuck in it. I can do almost anything I want with it, which is wonderful. So definitely move forward with your template. If you need help, YouTube is fabulous. Start YouTubing videos. Start looking online. If you're trying to load a template and you don't even know how to get it in there, because I literally felt like, I don't know if you've seen Zoolander, but I sat there and I felt like I was holding this folder trying to figure out how to input it into the computer, not understanding everything was in there. I was very frustrated, but YouTube became my best friend. So there's so many videos that will walk you through the whole process of installing the template, setting the template. Even the companies sometimes themselves will go ahead and they'll have their own videos on walking you through it. So don't stop, don't hold back, don't be afraid. Just do it.
Yes, awesome. And I forget now, was that the last thing you were talking about? I forgot in our little notes.
Yeah, I think that was the last thing I had, but any questions? I mean, we can get as detailed as you want to get. We could go this long.
Awesome. Go ahead, Terry.
I had a quick question, and I don't, if this warrants like getting detailed, then you don't have to get detailed.
Okay.
You had said a couple times, you were talking about like keywords and that you're like a keyword guru. And to me, that is like so foreign because I had my website on Weebly and I just recently had it switched over to WordPress. And so all the things you're talking about with WordPress, I am tackling now. And so I'm sort of understanding what you're talking about. And now I'm at a point where now everything's set where it is and all I have to do is blog, which is what I wanted to do. But I am clueless on keywords, or if I'm supposed to be doing something with keywords, because I've done nothing and I don't even know what that means.
No, well, congratulations on the swap. I'm so excited for you.
Yeah.
Keywords
back there in WordPress, but I'm getting it.
It's beautiful. I know there is a bit of a learning curve at the beginning, but once you get past it, you'll be a blogging pro. I mean, you'll be able to update and swap out. I love seeing a year later how many of the coaches have gone on to fool with their site. I don't love going into a site and seeing it exactly how I left it. I want to see them exploring their dashboard. I want to see them exploring how to add things, because I want you to grow on your own. And that's why it was so important to me. I thought if I go ahead and do some of these blogs like I did last year, that I wanted the training to go with it, because I always felt, what good is a blog if you have no idea how to even post to it? So, but when you get to keywords actually come from my beginning years. I started filling around the internet in 1998, was really interested, have gone to some of those seminars that they buy you lunch at, kind of dabbling with what's this internet thing. I even came across a book that I had the other night, because we didn't have Google. You couldn't Google everything in the beginning. It was how to find domain names, how to find, it was basically yellow pages, physical yellow pages, how to search online. Because Google didn't exist. Search engines weren't really, even if they had started forming at that point, it wasn't something you could just go to every day and search. So I had to explore the world of how to even find things on the internet back in the very early days, which is almost hilarious at this point, because we can find things so easily at the tap of a button. So keywords, when I started searching through everything way back, I started seeing a pattern that everything seemed to be based around keywords. I wish I had known what I was stumbling across then. I had no idea people were buying these, buying domain names up off of keywords and selling them for millions of dollars. It was insane. But it was something so that's kind of how I got started into it. I love to research. I'm a research fanatic, which is kind of funny. I don't know why. I love it. I could sit down at the computer and research for hours and not even realize that 3 hours has gone by and it felt like 5 minutes to me. So I love to research. But as search engines started approaching the internet world and started becoming more accessible, they started creating tools for developers, is what they refer to us as, for developers to be able to find ways to find more readers, to find more traffic to your site. So they gave us these wonderful tools that you could go through and you could search for things, which was wonderful. So I started searching that way, and then I started getting deeper and deeper into what you always hear as SEO, which is search engine optimization. And once I started diving into search engine optimization, it was all based around keywords. And so I started creating content based around these keywords. But then Google came out, and they're always doing this. And they're updating and saying, well, I don't like you to use it this many times in a post. You used it too many times, so now we're going to give you a little black mark against your site that you're keyword stuffing, or you're using it purposely to bring traffic to your site. They want your content to be natural. So I always suggest, at the beginning when you're just learning, let it just flow. Don't worry about the keywords. Don't even dive into that at the beginning. In my 30-day group that I did last year, and I've had some coaches approach me and ask me if I would do another one, I get heavily into it, and where to find them and how to write your posts around them. I base my content on my websites, my own sites that I do for business. I base all of my content around keywords. So I won't write a topic just to write a topic. I do write it based around a certain keyword, and then I'm cautious about how many times I use it in that post. But when you're starting at the beginning, just start blogging. Don't worry about it. That's something that you can dive into. If I go ahead and do a group, I'll definitely let Kathleen know, and it gets heavy into it, which is a beautiful thing. But if you want to just kind of start fooling around with it, if you go to Google AdWords and create an account, it'll try to get you to create one. If it even makes you buy an AdWord, I would spend $1 to do it and then never buy anything again, because I always get the little red flag as soon as I log into my AdWords account that I haven't purchased ads, that I need to purchase ads, and I just don't. So create an account with it, and they have a tool. It's called the keyword. I don't have it in front of me right now, but it's called the keyword tool, and it will help you start looking for keywords that are easy to find. Things that get into detail. I do have a post about that. Maybe I should dive through my content, and I'll share it with Kathleen, and she can forward it on. That just gets into that specific part if you want to start kind of dabbling with it. But right now, definitely just start blogging. Just start writing. think of things, like I said, that you will connect with people. Find things that your interest and start writing about those. I always tell people kind of steer clear. I mean, it's always good to write a post on Shakeology, but there's so many people writing posts on Shakeology. Even Beachbody themselves are kind of competing against for that keyword term. So find things that are more narrowed in about yourself instead of just the big ones that people start searching. They start finding Shakeology and Insanity, and find even within those workouts things that were good. Like with me, when I did Insanity, I had to modify. And I had to modify a ton because I had had a C-section 7 weeks prior. So you can focus on modifying different ways you can modify Insanity if you have problems not being able to do it, full out. Just try to narrow in a little bit tighter than just the generic Insanity. I don't know if that helped or answered it, but
Yeah, thank you. That was great.
All right, any last questions for Carla? Well, thank you. That was so great. It was so helpful to hear, even where I am, which is far from expert, but a little past beginner. It's so great to just reiterate, move forward, keep going, and don't get caught up in perfection. But also I know there are a lot of people on here that are just getting started, and hearing all those other key pieces of advice about how to do that has been so helpful. Thank you. So I know some people on here might be interested in the next step, and I don't know if you want to just be in touch with me, or if there was anything that you wanted to share about what you're planning on doing from here. But you can let me know if you want me to just pass the word along. But I didn't know if you had something in particular.
yeah, I did. I recently created a design site. I've always kind of just gone off of people coming to me. Most of what I've built has been for our own portfolio that I've been working through, and that's kind of just been our future retirement, as I've built away website after website. And then I started taking on clients and just had so much fun, and kind of got a little winded last year after I was homeschooling my son, and I just had my daughter, and we were still filling out the medical world of Down syndrome, and it was just a lot to take on. So I had clean eating groups running and challenge groups, several different ways, and I was WordPress training, and I was 30 days to know online you. It just became a lot. So I kind of backed away for a little bit, but I went ahead and created a new site that I'm taking on clients now, if you're interested. And it's called newonlineyou.com. And they can just reach out to me that way. When you go in there, I do have a base rate, but Kathleen and I can work a deal. So we could talk offline about something that will go for you guys. So it could be definitely more affordable than my average regular pricing. So if you're interested, definitely please reach out to me or Kathleen, and she can forward it on to me. But you can reach me at newonlineyou.com.
Awesome. And Carla, it's just so everybody can find you too. It's Carla Rumsey, Rumsey.
Yes, you can even go to my own personal blog, although I'm in a redesign position right now. You can check it out. I loaded a new theme, so I'm having to reset everything. I finally took the dive, in the theme I was using all last year. I finally said I'm going to dive in and tear my blog apart. I knew it was going to be a challenge, so there's still a few things that I'm still wrapping up in it. But yeah, definitely you can even go carlarumsey.com. You can get me that way too.
Awesome. Well, thank you again. Does anybody have any last questions before we sign off for tonight? Everybody's going out tonight to set up their blog.
Yay! I want everybody to go. I want you to take a photo with your camera. That becomes your picture on your site.
Totally. Well, thank you again. I really, really appreciate it. I know this has been really helpful to
You're welcome.
many of us. All right, well, take care. So I wrote down all that contact information, and I'll be in touch with you as well. So if anybody on here, again, wants to either reach out to me, and there's a couple people from Kristen's team on here. So Kristen and I will be talking, and then we'll talk with Carla, and we'll get everybody rolling, because this is such a great, meaningful platform, and a great way to reach out to more people and share your stories.
Definitely. Well, thank you for having me, and it's been wonderful. Like I said, just go out and start tonight. I want to see blogs forming tonight. Kathleen will report back in.
Yes, you got it. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Carla.